Palm d'Ivroguin cider enthusiast here again with another set of cider reviews in October of the 2014. I'm Phil. This is my associate Ben.
Ben.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Here we have our first cider of the video review. This is Woodside Hard Cider Pumpkin from the Hudson Valley of New York, where Ben recently went on a cider vacation. So,
actually, this one is from Long Island.
Long Island.
The rest, I think, are from the Hudson Valley, but this one is from the North Fork of Long Island.
All right, North Long Island. So this, as previously stated, is a pumpkin cider, and I would say it's a pretty solid example. I'm not personally a huge fan of the whole pumpkin spice fall thing, but I feel like this works.
Yeah, it's not terribly sweet. You would think that with a pumpkin cider they would have just pumped up the sugar, but this one is a nice medium sweet sort of cider.
Yeah, I think you were saying in the tasting notes it was like 3.5 out of 5 or so.
So if you want to give it a number, yes.
Yeah, little medium sweet.
It's definitely strong on the cinnamon, which is what you expect with a pumpkin cider or a pumpkin beer. If you think about it, you can convince yourself that it actually tastes a tiny bit like actual pumpkin, but who knows if there's any pumpkin in it.
On the finish, you get a little bit of a squash flavor, but definitely more pumpkin spice than pumpkin. Right. It paired really well with the almonds, though, in the tasting. So if you're going to have a cheese plate or a nut assortment at a party, feel free to include some Woodside Hard Cider Pumpkin in your cider tasting experience. I don't know. I'd say this is a pretty solid cider. I'd rank it about a 6 out of 10 because of the medium sweetness. Not quite as dry as I normally like.
Right. I think I agreed on the 6 out of 10. This is a decent cider. Probably goes well with desserts or foods in general.
All right. Well, we have a bevy of other ciders, which were tasted earlier, and full tasting notes will be up on the blog, which no one reads. So we'll just walk through these because if we have another 4 cider tasting samplings, I probably won't be able to drive home. So Ben, start us off. What is our next cider that was sampled this evening?
The next drink is actually not a cider, but it is a pommeau style drink, which is made at Orchard Hill Cidery in upstate New York. I think this was in Warwick. So this was called the Orchard Hill 1066. So as what was described to us when we were there, it is a cider or an apple brandy mixed with an undistilled apple product. So it's both Phil and I thought this was a really tasty thing. It has a really strong apple nose, but it is much smoother than you might get out of an apple brandy or something straight up like that.
Yeah, I thought this was ridiculously good. The only apple liqueur or liquor I've had before is really just an Applejack or like the apple pie moonshine, basically, which is kind of artificial, although delicious. Yeah. And this was just ridiculously smooth and a really nice brandy flavor with more apple than you would expect out of a brandy. So I'd definitely say I'm a fan of the pommeau genre. I'd have to look for it now.
The other thing you could compare it to, it's a lot like a port in both its sweetness and its alcoholic strength. So if you're a fan of ports and a fan of apples, check out a pommeau.
Yeah, for sure. I would say just, check out a pommeau. It doesn't seem like it's a very common genre, but if you see it, pick it up because that was really excellent.
Yeah, at the actual orchard, I was told that this is the only place in America or in North America that they actually make a pommeau style of beverage.
Yeah, no, it's definitely something I'd never seen before, and I would say it was incredibly delicious. We weren't ranking this because we felt like that would be cheating because it's not really a hard cider. Yes. But on the unranked, not rated scale, I think I had this as parentheses really, really good. So I enjoyed 1066.
I wrote down in parentheses very good.
All right.
Similar rating.
Yes, we approve of 1066 and the pommeau product.
So the next beverage we tasted was from De Monk's Cider House. It is a Belgian-style cider. We will resume briefly.
Yes.
Pause.
Oh, we can edit this.
Okay. Yeah.
I think if I stop, then I have to do all kinds of weird stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
Or we could just leave it in. It's it's a podcast. No one watches.
Nobody watches.
No one's watching.
We're recording our cider video.
Hello.
Hello.
We tasted all the ciders already, but now
we did
a compilation.
We're faking it. We're pretending we're talking about ciders that we had previously.
Yeah.
All right. So
it's like you left a couple for me.
Yeah, there's some empty or some that are open in the fridge.
Yes.
We didn't finish anything.
If you want to hop on in, I don't know. I don't know if we could widen
You can
the
join
lens
the video.
enough. But yes, we could make room on the
I need to
couch.
have dinner before I start drinking.
Okay, so we are resuming the review of the De Monk's Belgian style cider.
Yes.
This comes from Lakeside, New York, I believe. And it comes in a 6-pack of 12-ounce bottles.
Yeah, the 6-pack availability was nice, and this was really interesting because the nose was almost exactly like a Belgian-style sort of Trappist beer, and I came into that with really high expectations. Was that because I enjoy sort of a Belgian double or Belgian triple on occasion, and I was kind of expecting that sort of citrusy, high gravity experience, and the nose was great, and the flavor was there, but it was kind of low gravity and just sweeter and not as dry and interesting as I expected, which disappointed me. So I don't know. You saw after the fact, I guess this had been back sweetened. They'd added some cider back into it. So
Right, it advertised on the label that it was back sweetened with cider, which is what it tastes like. You get that sort of little bit of fresh apple taste to it.
yeah, I mean, it's a really, really good idea, and I feel like the execution is almost there because the nose and some of the yeast taste was bang on with what you get out of a really nice Belgian-style beer, and would be extremely drinkable. And if it was produced in a higher gravity and just a little bit better format, I think that it could really shine. So I had to give this a 5 out of 10. I'm kind of dinging at a point just because the nose left me with such high expectations, and then it just didn't achieve. So
Yeah, I gave this a 5.5 out of 10 for similar reasons. So nice idea, but
yeah, lacking in execution. So sorry, DeMonks. You have excellent branding though.
Yes.
I have to say, as far as building a brand goes, the cap was cool. The website's good.
and the 6-pack availability is very
Yes,
convenient.
6-pack availability is very nice.
Okay, moving on, the next cider we tasted was from the Bad Seed Cider Company. This is the Belgian Abbey Hard Cider. This also comes from the Hudson Valley of New York.
Yeah, so this was very good. This was another Belgian style and Belgian yeast. Now, this one was actually bottle conditioned, so definitely very dry, very fizzy. You could tell as soon as you opened it that this was really fermented in the bottle.
Yeah,
So this was pretty good stuff. However, oddly enough, not as Belgian style or as Trappisty as the example from De Monk's.
Right, you didn't get as much of the yeasty nose as in the De Monk's. It had sort of an interesting kind of a funky nose to it. It was like woody or smoky or almost sulfury. Like,
Yeah,
it's
it
hard to
definitely
describe.
it was a very interesting flavor too. Like it definitely had a very smoky finish, and I think I described it as almost a meaty or sort of farmhouse beer taste to it. So kind of close to a Spanish cider, which sort of has the classical ham taste, but some sort of different smoked meat flavor in this case.
Right, exactly. Yeah, some sort of an unidentifiable meat. I guess sulfury was one way to describe it.
Yeah, it's definitely very interesting,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I mean, not exactly what I was expecting coming into it with the sort of Belgian double, Belgian triple expectation.
I got the sense that it would go very well with food, although we were just drinking it with a bowl of almonds, so we couldn't really tell. But
yeah,
I gave it a 7 out of 10.
Yeah, I also gave it a 7 out of 10. I thought it was highly drinkable, very interesting. There's a lot going on with the flavors here. It's got a very nice body, nice dryness to it, not too sweet. Definitely a cider to check out, but not what you would expect if you're a Belgian beer fan. If you're coming into it expecting a Belgian triple, you'll probably be disappointed, but definitely worth a look.
Right. And the final cider we tasted tonight was the Hudson Valley Farmhouse English Cider. This comes from the Breezy Hill Orchards, which if you actually visit an orchard called the Stone Ridge Orchard in Stone Ridge, New York, you can taste this cider and purchase it on site. So this one definitely was done through sort of a champagne process where it was definitely fermented again in the bottle. So it has that very champagne-y bubbliness.
Yeah, I was really surprised with this one at how dry the cider was actually. Because for how fizzy it was. Normally a fizzy cider, for better or for worse, places will make that very sweet at the same time, either through the pre-fermentation process or through back sweetening.
Right.
And this was a very dry and very fizzy cider, which I thought was unique and was very refreshing.
Yeah, it was interesting how they described this as English cider. So we didn't taste the French-style cider tonight, but they also make a French-style cider, which is presumably also made with a similar champagne process. But this one had some of the nice, like strong tannins that you think of in an English cider, very dry on in the palate.
Yeah, I mean, if you've had a traditional English style cider with that sort of aptly tannic flavor, the tannic nose, the tannic finish, you're going to be familiar with what you're going to get out of the cider. But in addition to that, you get the fizzy champagne yeast French feel. So
Right.
very
Nice.
unique product. I think I ranked this a 7.5 out of 10.
Yeah, that's what I gave it also, just because it was definitely above average and definitely drinkable. But maybe if you're looking for like an absolutely traditional English cider, it might not be quite what you're looking for.
Yeah, if you're a purist and you hate bubbles, you'll probably hate this. But
bubbles would be the only thing to.
I thought this was interesting though. It was definitely worth its 7.5. This was the highlight of the night in terms of score for the ciders, but the true standout has to be the Pomo. The 1066 was just outstanding.
Yeah, that was a definitely delicious product.
Yeah. So if you see Pomo, buy it and drink it.
That's right.
This is cider enthusiast Pom de Ivreguin signing off with a recommendation to not drink cider, but to drink Pomo instead. This is Phil.
And this is Ben.
Cheers.